Coming up on this week's FAS TV. Spring has sprung and we're in the Scottish borders visiting Smailholm Mains farm, winners of the 2024 Scottish Agriculture Awards Sheep Farm of the Year. We join Stewart Shaw, who's the third generation to farm Smailholm Mains, alongside his sister Lorna, a ruminant nutritionist with SAC Consulting, during peak lambing season, to hear how they maximise efficiency and performance in their sheep flock, along with important advice on nutrition for sheep farming businesses.
I am Stewart Shaw, one of the three partners in GS Shaw & Company, farming alongside my father Alan and my uncle Ron in an equal partnership. We farm here at Smailholm Mains. We're a tenanted farm on the Melliston estate, and we are a beef, sheep and arable unit. We try and focus on the higher end of all the markets of the things we do. So on our arable side of it, our main focus is producing spring seed barley. On the sheep, we have two kind of main focuses. We have a flock of 70 pedigree Suffolks, aiming to produce good quality shearlings for the commercial market to sell on at the Kelso Ram sales. With the commercials, we run Scotch half-breds. Well, two main aims for them is to produce high quality fat lambs and to produce a high quality breeding Suffolk Cross ewe lamb to sell on, mainly going down south into England. Until now, we've been running 85 Limousin Cross and Angus Cross cows, predominantly bought in as bred out the dairy, and we're slowly moving towards putting all our heifers to the Angus bull to start breeding some of our own replacements. Everything apart from the heifers that are going back to the Angus bull goes to Limousin to produce high quality. We're aiming for butcher's grade finished calves, aiming to finish everything between 16 and 18 months. We're slowly pushing our numbers up. We're actually 105 to the bull this time, so just working away quietly at them. So a typical morning routine here. All of us take our own wee part. So Ron will mainly focus on feeding the cattle, doing the TMRs with the mixer wagon. So he'll do 3 loads with the TMR in the morning. One for the sheep, everything's fed with a TMR around the shed here. Then Dad does all the individual pens, sorts everything out in here, with help this week from my sister Lorna and my mother Kirsty. So they focus on doing the sheds and the stuff in by. And then my main focus in the morning is doing all the field work, doing all the ewes and lambs outside, making sure everything's fed, everything's all good, mothered up, looking well outside, and keeping them right. So that's kind of where we all spread our mornings, and then we'll group back together and push on from there. So efficiency around busy times and around the whole year is very important to us. Throughout the bulk of the year there is only 3 of us here, father and uncle, which are both mid to late 60s, heading towards 70s. And myself, so we don't employ any staff, so efficiency is a key within our business, and especially at lambing time, you want everything quick to set up. So in here we have all our gates, we've got metal hooks on them with droppers, so we don't have to tie them up. We can erect all this shed in half an hour and ready to go for lambing once everything's disinfected and all sorted out that way, and keeping everything nice and easy. We have a sink with hot water tap in the middle of the shed, so mixing up milk and everything is straight there, middle of the shed. We're not disappearing away to the house or anything to mix up milk. And just keeping everything neat and tidy for ringing lambs and stuff. We have a box with our rings and our pliers and everything in it, ready to go. For lambing, again, we have a box there with all our lambing kit in it, with gels and everything to do their navels and what we would require for lambing. And then the shed in general is all set up. It's narrow passages. The sheep are easy to move out into the passages, into pens. We're not running around chasing sheep, getting everything worked up. And it's easy, calm for ourselves, calm for our sheep. Keeps everything moving nice and simple. From here, again, we're easy to empty the shed out. We load up into the bike trailer or carry box, round into mothering groups. They're mothered up for a day. And the next day beyond that, they'll be fed twice in their mothering groups, groups of between 6 and 10, and then they'll be moved on straight out onto the grass, onto nice clean grazing, ready to go. So yeah, keep everything straightforward as we can. So we run a rotation on all 500 acres of our farm. We have 100 acres of permanent pasture around the yard and onto rocky crags at the back of the yard here, where it's unploughable ground. And the rest of the 500 acres is all put down to roughly an 8-year rotation. It can change, but on that ground we're really only grazing it once every 8 years with ewes and lambs. So then beyond that, it'll be down, ewes and lambs will be onto clean pasture, which will have been, the year before that, it'll have been sown down to malt and barley with under-sown grass, which suits us really well. We're having a lot of livestock and heavy units on the farm to pull the nitrogen back out of the ground to produce low nitrogen barley. It helps having the grass in there to balance that out. Then we move on to the next year, ewes and lambs on the field. Like I said, it's once every 8 years that's getting grazed, so it's as clean as we can make it. So we're trying to get those lambs right the way through to spaining time without seeing any wormers to reduce the amount we're using. And then beyond that, it'll be silage, grazed with cattle, and then it'll be ploughed out the next year. We do keep roughly 30 odd acres into a third year where we put our early lambers, our January lambers on. So there's roughly 100 draft half-bred ewes and 70 Suffolks lambed in January, and they'll be put on the third year lay, and then it'll be ploughed out. It'll be down to arable, predominantly spring barley, for 4 years, and then there'll be a break crop come in. The break crops being either, we'll grow a couple of hectares of turnips, there'll be 30 to 40 acres of seed potatoes rented out to a neighbour, and we're thinking to move towards growing some spring or winter beans just to reduce the amount of protein we're buying into the farm. So we're just trying to reduce what's coming into the farm and extend what's going out. So I think it's a simple maths in farming. You'll make more money if more lorries are going out the way than coming in the way. It's quite. If you go right back to spaining time for us, is where it all starts. So once we've spained our lambs, we'll sort through them, get our draft ewes off that are going to be tucked early. They're getting tucked at the start of August, going for the January lambing. So it all starts there, get your draft ewes off. We'll run our mixed-aged younger ewes on our rougher ground on our permanent pastures, and then everything gets a bolus 6 weeks before tupping, and then we try and get them on good flushes. Our March lambers, we try and flush them onto our young grasses. So our young grasses are grazed once before the spring, but only for about 17 days to flush the ewes, and then the ewes will be moved on to silage ground that's going to be ploughed out for the spring to keep it clean. So anything that goes dirty in the winter will be ploughed out and not be moving on into the next year. So try and keep that right, and then right the way to lambing, we come through, try and just keep their feet right, keep them well foot bathed. They'll be brought inside. As soon as they're inside, we'll foot bath them, and once they've been in for 3 weeks, they'll get a fluke dose if they need it, once we've checked to see, once we've sampled them, and then they'll get a Heptivac, and they get 1 wormer a year inside after 3 weeks, and that's the only wormer our ewes will see in the year. So again, nutrition starts right the way from now. It starts right the way in the spring, getting your fertiliser on early onto your silage ground, trying to produce as good quality grass. We have gone away in the past with just being suckler cows and ewes. Years gone by, we probably didn't see the emphasis on producing good quality silage, which we've really had to focus on over the last few years and change our mindset on. With the fact, I should have said before, all of our cows are autumn calving. So our cows are inside as lactating cows with calves at foot. So feeding a lactating cow is as good as feeding a dairy cow, and it's the same for our ewes. We're feeding ewes that are coming up to lactate, so we need to produce as high quality silage as we can with good MEs and good proteins, and keep that right. So if you get your forage right, I think it's quite simple for there. If you can have a good base in your rations, it's easy to work on. All of our feed barley, we treat now with alpha urea to keep the protein up in it, just to reduce the amount of concentrates we're going in and to utilise our concentrates as well as we can. And then beyond that, we're just buying in the minimum amount of protein we can, but we give them the optimal amount at the same time. We treat everything as one whole in the shed. Everything's fed the same TMR. We have big ewes. The half-breds are averaging around 90 kilos. Triplets and singles are all treated the same. Saying that, we do manage the shed in a certain manner, just to suit the way they get fed. So the triplets always get fed out the start of the mixer, out the start of the TMR, and the singles always get fed last, because we do find just an extra rate of concentrates coming out right at the start of the mix, just to favour that. But really, in theory, it should all be the same. And then once they've lambed, we scanned 193% this year, with around 3% yield. So we have a good number of triplets and singles. So we're trying to twin on, get everything away as pairs as much as we can. We don't run any triplets out at grass. Triplets always get lifted, but we try and keep pet lambs to a minimum, get everything set on. A lamb will always do better on a ewe than it will on a bucket. So we were delighted to be nominated for the Scottish Farming Award Sheep Farm of the Year. Being a farm that's only running 550 odd ewes, in comparison to a lot of big units round about Scotland, we kind of felt the imposter syndrome right from the start. So I was very hesitant in going any further with it after we'd been nominated, but it was a great honour. We'd actually been nominated a year or 2 years ago as well, and I felt at the time we could probably push on and change a few things and do a few things better at that time. So we felt we weren't quite ready for it then, and I felt being nominated for the second time we probably should go for it. But even still, I took a couple of phone calls from some of the organisers to get me kind of into gear to do it. But went on, and then we were lucky enough to make the shortlist, showed the judges round on a lovely wet day, managed to show them round, so they must have seen something good on a wet day. So we went on from there, and then in November found ourselves in Glasgow at the Scottish Farming Awards, and we're delighted to be crowned Scottish Sheep Farm of the Year. It was a massive shock to us. Like we said, we felt as an imposter even getting nominated for it, so it was kind of wild winning it. But it's a great honour. It recognises everyone's hard work that goes on. You know, it's a whole family effort here, and it's a good boost for the family. It keeps spirits up, keeps us pushing forward. We're a very competitive family. We try and do the best at everything we can. We try and rate ourselves to high standards, and so it reflects what we do and keeps us motivated. So I would say the awards has benefited our business by giving us quite a lot of exposure to open up new opportunities. It's given us a chance to meet a lot of new people and to get out and about, and to be honest, you gain a lot of your new ideas from other people, so it's given us the chance to see a lot of new ideas and things to bring back and try ourselves. So I would say it's just helped keep us moving forwards as well. 3 pieces of advice I would give young farmers coming into the industry. Don't be afraid to try things. You have to keep trying things. I try and set ourselves a goal to try at least 5 new things within kind of each enterprise every year. So try and do 5 different things with the sheep. You know, and that can be something as tiny as using a different ring for their tails, or you know, just doing something ever so slightly different at lambing time, or it can be a big change, but just keep trying new things would be the main one, I would say. You know, working with family and everything can have its challenges, but in a whole, it's very good for us. We get on really well, we push on, but don't be afraid to try things. Sometimes you are better asking for forgiveness than permission. So as much as some people may not like that, I would say it is a fair bit of advice. You have to try things and don't be afraid to try them. You're not going to get anywhere without trying things. Lastly, you know, just don't be afraid of change. You just have to keep moving with the times. You know, something you do this year, you might be advised to do differently next year, and you just have to understand why and listen to people around you. You're only as good as the advice you receive, so listen to good advice, take good advice. Your advisors, you know, people like SEC, you know, you have to really listen to these people and take their advice, and that's the only way you're going to learn new things. And to put yourself out there, go to as many meetings as you can, and as many meetings and shows, and listen to people and try and take new things on board.
Hi Hi there, I'm Lorna Shaw. So I am Stuart's sister and Alan's daughter, and this is my family farm here. I also work as a consultant nutritionist specialising in beef and sheep with SEC Consulting in their livestock team. So do a bit of both. So my day-to-day role as a nutritionist can be quite varied with SEC really. It can go from one day doing kind of one-to-one stuff with farmers, where I'm out on farm, reviewing their systems, reviewing their feeding plans, looking at pits and silage bale quality and seeing how best to balance that for sheep and cattle. Then it can go into kind of more office-based stuff, so I'll be doing either kind of rations on our diet check software, or I could also be doing more project work where we're looking into things a wee bit more. So we've done things like looking at lamb intakes or bigger project work looking at beef efficiencies and stuff like that. So it can be really varied from out on farm to in the office. We also do a lot of technical writing, so a lot of articles and press and our own internal press as well. And then also a lot of farmer meetings, which I really enjoy. It's a good part. So you're out meeting people, big groups of farmers, looking at nutrition workshops, or you might be doing a more specific meeting on, say, like metabolic testing or something like that. It can vary a lot, so it's really good. You get to get out on farm, be also office stuff, and meet a lot of people every day. It's very varied. It's quite an exciting role. This week is a bit of a different week for me. I am taking my annual lambing leave. So I like to take a week's annual leave every year to come home and help my family lamb here at Smailholm Mains. I think it's a great thing to do. It keeps me grounded. It also saves us having to employ extra staff, which I think my dad really enjoys. In fact, he's already been threatening to find a way to keep me a week longer, but I've definitely got to go back to work next week. So I'll come home. I was actually home last Friday, so I'm helping in the shed, helping get using lambs out to the field, just that extra pair of hands that's really crucial at lambing time when it's really busy. We've got a lot going on here as well with kind of beef and arable as well as lambing, so it lets my brother get away and do some other jobs in the afternoon as well, me being home. So it's yeah, nice change of scene. They say a change is as good as a rest. So I think, I mean, being a nutritionist, I'd be biased, but nutrition is key to everything that happens within a livestock farm. So health, performance, everything's can be linked back to nutrition quite quickly. So we've done quite a lot of work here at home. I think it's nice having home and like the livestock here to kind of sometimes experiment with, but also just kind of make sure I can get that right, and it helps me become a stronger nutritionist elsewhere as well. So while I've done 2 degrees now, but both degrees are focused on nutrition for my final projects. So we've done projects looking at our ewe nutrition, so we've done early lambing ewes, and we've also done the March lambing ewes, trying to replace soya and reduce the amount of concentrate feeding we're producing. So from that, for our ewes at lambing time, we now feed a total mixed ration. So we try and make the best quality silage we can, as high as energy, as high as protein as we can possibly make. And then we're balancing that out with cereal that's already grown at home and protein. But the better forage we can make, ideally the least amount of cereal and protein we're needing to add. So saving us costs, but also optimising performance by getting the most from forage. It's also a healthier diet and just keeps things right. We've also been doing a lot of work with cattle, trying to then optimise things that we're growing here on farm and reduce the amount that we're buying in. So we've, a lot of work nutritionally just to kind of use our resources as efficiently as possible, make sure we're getting performance as good as we can in a really healthy and sustainable way, and also reduce inputs and reduce costs. So it's all about making the system work together here at home. But then that can translate into a lot of my day-to-day job as well. So yeah, quite a lot of work there. We've also moved away from using soya at home, so we use cold pressed rapeseed meal that's actually grown in Aberdeenshire. So we're trying to use locally grown bought in sources as well, I think. So we've seen quite a lot of results by changing nutrition over the years. So when we moved into our new shed and started the total mixed ration, and especially since we've kind of halved the amount of concentrate just from making better forage, we've seen a lot of benefits for the ewes. So we're now seeing a lot less prolapses around lambing time. So we've cut the number of prolapses down by a lot. I think we've only seen a couple in the last 3 years now. One was actually carrying quads, so she had a big load against her. And the other one was actually this year, but it was very, very minimal and we got it very early. So it's been a good thing when we've not got prolapses, we've not got pressure on the ewes. They're happy and healthy. And we also notice when you go into the shed, it should be quiet and they're all lying down, chewing their cud. They're happy, they're not a problem. Being at home for lambing helps because I can watch and make sure that they're all milking. If we get any inkling that things aren't quite right, we can adjust the ration quickly and just make sure that we've got plenty going to them. But this year's been really good. We've had plenty milk, plenty colostrum, happy lambs, happy farmers. So, yeah. Here at home, we've been, as I mentioned earlier, we're trying to kind of make the system work as much as possible between ourselves. So we have, we're growing all our own silage. We also have our own barley that we grow. But the only thing we're buying quite a lot of still is protein. So my brother mentioned we have been treating barley with a kind of urea and enzyme type treatment, which converts to ammonia. So it just ups the protein of the barley a wee bit. But from that, we don't really have as much bypass protein, which around lambing time and calving time, it's actually quite important that we get some of that bypass protein into livestock. So that's why we're buying in the cold pressed rapeseed meal at the moment. But ideally, if we could start kind of growing our own protein sources and reduce the amount of bought in resources, that would work really well for us. So one thing we are considering maybe as a unit is to maybe start growing our own protein sources. So thinking like putting into our rotation something like beans or peas, for example, would work really well into our already arable rotation. Like we've got an arable rotation with beef and sheep, so it works really well into our farm rotation. They're also really good crops for fixing nitrogen, so it'd be beneficial for the following crop. And we also get a protein source for home, which would mean we need to buy in less. The only thing we would then need to buy in is make sure we've got appropriate mineral supplementation for the TMR after that as well, which is really important to get that balanced as well. But yeah, we can make the most from what we can grow here and reduce our bought in resources, which saves us a lot of money and also just makes the system work as a whole. It should all feed into each other. So as a nutritionist, my top 3 pieces of advice to a livestock farmer, so be that sheep or beef, really, they both kind of go hand in hand, is one, to try and make the best quality forage you can, because if you can make a really, really good quality forage, it'll reduce the amount you're needing to balance it by a big amount, and it's also a much healthier diet. 2, make sure you analyse that forage. We can't make a ration properly without knowing what that forage is providing, how much energy, how much protein, have we got enough fibre, is it fermented well, or do we have an issue with intakes that we maybe need to look at? And number 3 is just really think about the best way to feed your livestock at home. Every farm's different, so here, with having the mixed arable and having the cattle, we've got resources to feed a total mixed ration. In a lot of units that we don't have that availability. So just think, you know, what's the easiest way to feed your livestock? And then speak to your nutritionist about how to make that the most efficient possible, because there's a lot of different ways of reaching an end goal. And as a team, a farmer and nutritionist can work really well to reach that end goal in an efficient manner for that unit. So yeah, just speak to people, I think would be my last piece of advice. So yeah, quality forage, get it tested and speak to your nutritionist and get a good plan in hand.